Maria de Matias was born into an affluent family in the village of Vallecorsa, Italy, in 1805. A violent time of war and crime in a land that gave barely more than subsistence to its people. As Maria grew into a young woman with a strong faith in Christ, she realized that acts of love could free the people from sin, and that education was the foundation for self-worth and dignity among the poor. She prayed to the Virgin Mary for guidance, and in the early 1820s, two remarkable precious blood missionaries, Don Gaspar de Buffalo and Father John Merlini, came into her life. Merlini encouraged her to reach out to the young women of Vallecorsa in need of religious instruction, guidance, and prayer. But Maria felt called to do more. Rather than enter a convent, she decided to serve God in the world, and in 1834 began teaching in Acuto, Italy. It was in this impoverished village that Maria and a companion began the Institute of the Adorers of the Most Precious Blood. Teaching the girls of poor families was revolutionary. Most rural Italians held that educating females was just foolish. But Maria's student body grew to include more than girls, women, and eventually even men came. Adorers went to small towns where the need was greatest and the most good could be accomplished. More towns requested schools, and even more students joined her, despite overcrowded classrooms and lack of resources. But Maria also faced opposition. Bishops sent emissaries to report back violations of church teachings. A local pastor scolded his parishioners for listening to a woman. Yet despite the poverty and prejudice she encountered, Maria had established more than 60 schools throughout Italy by the time of her death in 1866. Maria's mission, to reach out in service wherever there was a need, soon spread beyond Italy to Germany, then to America, where a very determined group of 50 Swiss-German adorers arrived in Piopolis, Illinois in 1870. Life for the sisters was hard in their adopted home, but even when difficulties with a local bishop forced them to move 100 miles west to Ruma, Illinois, they persevered. Soon their apostolate spread west to the Great Plains, and by 1902 there were dozens of sisters teaching in Kansas. Rather than return to Illinois each summer, Mother Clementine and 3 other sisters came to Wichita and bought a large residence from Bishop J.J. Hennessy for the huge sum of $11,500. It was a heavy stone, 25-room house in the middle of a cow pasture a few miles west of downtown Wichita. The bishop called the place College Green, a name that would prove prophetic. At the same time, another adorer arrived in Odin, Kansas, to teach at the parish school. Her name was Sister Beata Nettemeyer, a courageous, resolute woman with a deep faith in divine providence. After a succession of teaching posts over the years in small towns all over Kansas, she came to Wichita and became the driving force behind the opening of Sacred Heart Junior College in 1933. In the early years of the school, like Maria de Matias a century before, Sister Beata and the other nuns faced opposition and hardship. The diocese was resistant to the idea of a school for women, and no tangible support was given to the sisters. At the same time, the country was struggling through the depths of the Great Depression, and here in Kansas, they were in the very heart of the Dust Bowl. The sisters' vow of poverty, along with remarkable patience and persistence, was their reality on a day-to-day basis. They taught and lived in the most difficult of conditions: dust blizzards, back-breaking manual labor, subsistence farming, struggle and sacrifice. But their commitment to service was eventually fulfilled, and their faith in divine providence vindicated. Sacred Heart Junior College grew to become an exceptional educational institution for the women of the region. Each year, new resources and curricula were added, new buildings, new opportunities to learn, growth that could never have been imagined, but was ensured by the strength of a succession of truly remarkable women. Sacred Heart was the foundation for today's Newman University, a shining example of extraordinary commitment to the power of faith and the courage to act on your beliefs.